Hi, this is Julie from the Sewing Palace, and I wanted to just give you a little demo on the Dresden plate from the Modern Sampler. Now this is block number 6. Jenny's away, so I thought maybe I'll put it up there and we'll talk about it with her later. So we're going to be doing the block number 6 with your center Dresden plate, and it's kind of a fun block to do, but can have a few little challenges, so I want to just walk you through them. The first thing we're going to do is show you some great tools that will help you to do a wonderful job. You may already have them, but if not, they're great additions to your toolbox at home. So we have the Press Perfect piece from Quilter, which is a nice tool that works great. We have our sharp little Kai scissors, wonderful tools. We also have our 18-degree Dresden plate ruler, which makes this work really well. Also, all the creative grids have a nice little grip on the back, like a little sandpaper, so that when you're cutting, it stays in place, and that's really helpful when you're cutting. We also have the whole thing template, which is used for circles, which is nice. We have our Frixion pan, I have a 3.5 by 18-inch ruler, which is helpful. Some glow line tape, which we use to mark our rulers, making it easier. Our best press, and some tearaway stabilizer, ultra clean and tear, which is great when you're doing your applique. So these tools are all little things we're going to use, so I'm going to just remove them and we will start to begin by cutting your project. So you're going to take your fabrics, and in your kit you have 5 pieces of fabric, and yours are probably a little more nicely cut, but I'm just demoing, so I'm doing that. And you layer them together. You're going to take them to your iron, and I will spray them with some Best Press. The Best Press makes them flat. It keeps them together so they don't move around too much, and it gives them a nice crisp finish so that when you're starting to cut and work with them, it's much, much easier. So we're going to press that up, and then we're going to be ready to go right there. See how crisp they look? Isn't that beautiful? So we're going to take that over here, and we'll be ready to start cutting. Now I'm going to open up your pattern, and we're going to go into the inside here where it shows you what you need to be cutting here. So we're going to cut our blades, and so we need to figure out, the length of our blade and how we're going to do that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our ruler and we're going to lay it on there, and we're going to measure that, and you can see that's 4 inches. So I know that I need to cut my strips into 4-inch strips, and that's going to be where I start with that. The second thing I need to know is how, with this 18-degree ruler, you can see it's a little bit big, so I'm going to slide it back up until it fits on there, and this one actually fits nicely at 3.5. So I'm going to be cutting 3.5 is going to be my cutting mark. And I have that glow line tape. I love it because you can just fold the end a little bit. It's sticky, but it removes and doesn't leave any residue on your ruler, so you can mark it just above the line. And visually, that's a very easy thing to see when you start to cut. So we're going to cut your 4-inch strips. So we'll start there. I'm just going to move this pattern out a little bit out of the way so I don't cut the pattern. That wouldn't be a good thing. So I'm just lining my fabric up. I'm not even worrying about anything so much, but I'm just looking at my mat here, and I'm going to cut a first piece to cut it off. And make sure you have a nice sharp rotary cutter, especially if you're doing layers, makes the job much easier. So I made my first cut. I'm going to measure over 4 inches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll make my next cut. So I'm going to line that up and cut my next cut. And there we've got our 4-inch strip, which is where we're going to start. Now once we have that, we're going to turn the whole piece. I just kind of lay it down here on my mat, and I'm going to take my ruler. Now remember, we're starting at the 3.5 on our cutting, so there's my 3.5. Oh my gosh, it's a little short. Well, that's okay. If you're comfortable, you can take your cutter and just go ahead and cut straight down and cut on there. If you're not comfortable with that, take your ruler and slide it up next to it, slide the template away, and then make your cut. And then you have something all the way down. So you've got your first set, okay? Sharp rotary cutter, can't say that enough. So then you're going to turn it over again, lining up at the 3.5 line here. Can you see that little mark on there? And we're going to line it up and make our cut all the way through. Sometimes if you start here and go back, it's easier to keep that line straight and make a nice sharp cut. Turn it one more time and make your 3.5. Line it up, make your cut, and so on until you have enough. Now this is a degree wedge. So you're going to actually need 20 blades to make your circle. So you would need to cut, you've got 5 pieces, so you'd cut them 4 times because you do 4 quarters. So that will give you enough to do your whole plate, and you'll be ready to start. So once you get these all cut, you're going to go to the sewing machine, and you've got your piece, and you're going to take the wide edge and fold it across and sew it with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, which, ta-da, here it is. So you take your finger and you put it in there. You can spread that little seam apart there. Of course, it's not working right now while I want to do it. Let me grab my tool. This is why I have that. So use that tool to help spread it. Put my finger in there, turn, and then take the tool and gently just push your tip out. So isn't this a great tool already? The other end's great because it's got a silicone. You can use it for ironing or smoothing and that kind of stuff as well. So I fold this piece in half. Can you see that? Fold it with a finger press. Now when I go to my iron, do you see that little finger press? I can go in there and line that up and press that perfectly. So all my little points are centered. And that's just using what I have there. We're giving it a little iron, a little spritz again, because that just keeps everything nice and crisp and makes it really nice to work with. So once you've sewn all of your little blades and you've put them, you're going to start putting them together. So to make a 1/4, you're going to need 5 pieces. So you're just going to put this piece on and line them up here at the top. And you'll sew from the top down using a 1/4 inch. So you're going to put all your seams. And once you've done that, what you're going to do is press these seams open, because that'll make your plate lay so much flatter when you begin to put the piece together. So make a 1/4, which will include 5 blades, and then make 4 of those, and that's going to make your Dresden plate happen. Now once you're done with that, you'll need to make your centerpiece once you've done your whole circle. So I want to show you a little bit about that. So I have 2 pieces of fabric. This is your fabric for the center circle, and then I have something called SF101. There's a little bit of glue on this side, and this side has none. And I'm actually going to take my template piece that we have, and I'm going to take it over and put it on the circle so I find the right circle. So that one's big because it's around the seam allowance, but I really want it to be the same size. So I'm going to take it and go, oh, my 1.5 inch circle, and I'm going to take and put, I actually like to draw this right on my mat, on my mat, because then it doesn't slide around so much. And I'm actually going to draw on the non-glued side. There's a reason for that, but I just want to draw on it, and I'll tell you that a second. So draw your circle so you can see it, because you're going to stitch on that circle. So once you have that, the glued side is actually going to go to the face side of the fabric. No, it's not wrong. It seems like it should be wrong, but there's a reason for that. So we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew all the way around the circle. Da-da-da-da, it's done. And then we're going to take our nice sharp scissors, and we're going to cut it a little less than a 1/4 inch, because we don't want too much bulk in the center of that circle when we begin to turn it, because it just makes it a little more difficult. But you want it enough there so it's going to give you a nice seam allowance so it doesn't fray out. So once you're done that, you need to go ahead and clip. Don't cut the seam. If you do, you'll have to re-sew it. So just give it a little clip all the way around, and that allows it to turn a little bit better. And once you get all the way around, takes a second or two. Okay, and I take my fingers and I kind of just squish the fabric apart. So you can see I pulled those 2 pieces apart because I want to clip the stabilizer, but I do not want to clip my front piece. So by doing that, I put a little hole in there, turn it, and then you're going to turn your circle all the way through. Now, turning little circles can be a little bit difficult, so we're going to, once we get it mostly out, I'm going to use that lovely little clover pressing tool again. You see how it's kind of an ugly little circle? Well, you take this tool and you just run it around the edge like this, and it just pops everything out nice and flat, so you have a more rounded circle, and that's kind of a nice way to get those nice and flat so they look good, because we don't want ugly little circles. So now you think, well, okay, she's done that. Now remember that glue, it was on the inside, now it's on the outside, so I can place it on top of this and press it in place, and guess what, it stays there for me. I'm just going to press it and show you what I mean. There you go. So there we are. And that's just a nice little fast, easy. Stays in place. Well, it stays in place if you iron the whole thing together. And then I want to show you a little bit about the stitching of it down, because that can sometimes be something that we don't know how to do. So I'm using my stabilizer, the Ultra Clean and Tear, and I'm going to put it under here. It is the best thing ever. It tears like butter, so you don't have to worry about it pulling on your stitches. And you stick it underneath and it makes the stitches come out nice and flat. You can use the same colored thread. You're going to be having different color plates. You could use a monofilament, or you could just use, you could change it out if you want to. But what I did here is, this is a little teeny zigzag that I set on my sewing machine. The width on this is 1.1 and the length is 1.8. And you can see I've sewn around here, and then I did the yellow as well where you see it a little more. But the key here is to get one stitch on the fabric and one stitch in the background, and then it kind of melts away. So one stitch on the fabric and one in the background helps it to melt away. The pattern suggests you just do a straight stitch, and you can see that, but it's a little more noticeable, and I think this will blend into the back a little bit better if you like that. But choose whatever you want to finish that up. So I hope this was helpful. This is Julie at the Sewing Palace. Oh, and did you know you can get your Scrap Happy shirt at the Sewing Palace as well? Enjoy, have fun, great holidays. Bye.